Yes, Dr. Bob Dennis. I want to give a story that I haven't told you about before, Dr. Bob. Once in a while, I'll do something that'll, get things aggravated. And I don't know what I was doing with my exercise, but I was really pushing it. And I think I kind of strained something in my neck. So I started having some pretty significant pain. And guess what I did? I got my Inflamex anti-inflammatory out and my cell defense. I took my other nutraceuticals, which I take, but then I slapped on my micro pulse. And I'll tell you, I love that little machine. I know it's click, click, clicking away all night. And I was like pain where I don't think I'm going to go to sleep. And I'll tell you, after I put that machine on within half an hour, I was sleeping like a baby. It's amazing, isn't it? So when people think they've got a micro tear of their shoulder or their MCL, ACL, or they've got a strained joint or their vertebrae or rib head's popped out, micropulse is going to turn off your pain. It's going to stimulate the healing process. Because remember, inflammation doesn't need to be prolonged or excessive. It's just the first phase in healing. And when your body moves to the second phase of healing, where it marshals the circulation and the biomolecules to rebuild the tissue, the body says, hey, I don't need pain anymore. To splint the tissue's healing. So I can tell you, I had my micropulse nights, and it really worked like a charm. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that it helped you out. We use it for everyone in our family. We've got kids who are riding bikes and crashing into things, and we get unbelievably fast and very high quality healing rates.
Right.
An interesting story about this. I can't really name names or anything, but I know of at least 3 people who market the very large, expensive PEMF machines. The ones that are $25,000, $30,000 or more. At least 3 of them have told me that they actually own one of my systems, and when somebody in their family gets hurt, they use our little portable system for a few $100.
That's funny.
Isn't that funny?
That is very
because
funny,
it works better, and they let their $30,000 system sit in the corner collecting dust.
Yeah. I think that's quite humorous. In fact, I got a situation where I have a relative that I'm going to get another machine for him, specifically because he's suffering with a chronic back pain syndrome. And of course, he's tried the old, marginal therapies like transelectrical neurostimulators. He's not a candidate for surgery, and he's got a chronic pain syndrome. And I'm thinking, why would I let him suffer when he can use a micropulse and start taking some of our nutraceuticals that won't wreck his stomach? And again, the typical anti-inflammatories that doctors prescribe will wreck your stomach and also put you at risk of damaging your kidneys. So if you have any health problem like diabetes and you take a non-steroidal or Arthrotec, bye-bye, see you later, kidneys. Have a nice day. See your GFR drop in half or worse. But if you take Inflamex and then you put a micropulse on, you stimulated the healing. You then supply Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, Joint Performance, Tendon Mender. Guess what? Building blocks are there, so you have substance and signal, and it starts to heal. And I tell people, what could be simpler? It's just, to me, it's amazing to me that, and we talked about this before the break, and I want to get into some of the science. You mentioned that most of the people that are doing research, and there's 10,000 labs around the world working on trying to augment soldiers, or they call super soldiers, or augment or get to zero senescence or rebuild organs or regenerate them.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that a lot of the logic they're using doesn't make sense. They're using substances to create a matrix that isn't biological. Remember, now cells have tight junctions to connect each other. They also have a matrix of not just collagen, which they're doing ghost organ work at University of Minnesota and University in Wisconsin, that you can't decellularize them completely and then expect them to just put human cells on. They're only getting a 1 to 2% regeneration of pulsatile cardiomyocytes in a ghost heart, say a sheep ghost heart, where they put human cells on it, because there's not enough signal transduction by just collagen. You have to have the full ECM. So I'm working with Mountain Red Velvet to actually create a surgical version, and I think your device, for example, if I get somebody to say with marginal kidney function or liver function, I tell them slap the micropulse and wear it 24/7 over the target organ. Start taking our Mountain Red Velvet and our other things for growth hormone like micropulse, like microdose, Supernox, and other factors to try to help supply the phospholipids for organ regeneration, Nutriphos Neurogen, our Copper Regenemax, and our Minerals Plus. But you need the signal, and when that signal is present there, and then you can amplify it even further by getting mild hyperbaric oxygen with ozone and oxygen concentrator. The body then has a signal to say, hey cells, the transducing molecules are now present in the tissue. Let's start rebuilding this kidney, this organ. And I think that the key is you have to have a whole orchestra of signal, substance, oxygenation, and other factors to create the whole environment for organ regeneration. In other words, it's like restoring the conditions of a fetus, which has lots of extracellular matrix, it has lots of oxygen, and obviously there's neurotropic signals. The highest rate of apoptosis occurs in utero. People don't realize it. They think, well, you're kidding. You mean cells are being killed or destroyed in organelles? They're faster in the utero when the organ is being rebuilt or an organism is growing than any other time in the life of a human being. So, apoptosis isn't a bad thing if it's organized and directed, but their whole approach is not going to yield positive results, is it?
Well, I really agree with you on that. And not only would I say that sort of prophetically, we can actually say that now in retrospect. They've been singing the same song for many decades. Might as well do a little expose here on tissue engineering in the nation. Since 1984, they started publishing the titans in the field, started publishing in Science magazine, which, as you know, is the highest impact factor, biological, medical journal. And, they kept saying, just give us millions of dollars, and within 5 years we'll have replacement arms and legs and hearts and lungs and you name it. And you can go back to Science, the journal, from the mid-1980s, and the claims are unbelievable. So the money actually came, and it came in boatloads, and there were over $2 billion spent by the year 2000, so it was 15 years ago. And they have nothing to show for it.
The only thing I've seen of
it's a very simplistic model.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen of even some benefit is to take pig bladders and take the basement membrane to get extracellular matrix and create strips to surgically put it in
exactly right. There's actually probably 2 tissue engineering products that are of any value. Both were discovered at almost no cost and almost accidentally. One of them is Alloderm, and that was a sort of the result of a laboratory accident where they put a skin graft into a conical vial and tightened the lid on. And you know this, Bill, but not everybody else knows it.
Right.
When you put cells into an incubator, part of the function of the incubator is to maintain the pH of the the acidity or the alkalinity of the nutrient mixture. But in order to do that, you have to have gas exchange between the liquid and the air in the incubator, and you know that, but most people wouldn't know that. So what you don't do in an incubator ever is tighten the lid on something so that it's airtight. Well, a graduate student did that with a skin sample, threw it in the back of the incubator, and went on vacation for 3 weeks, came back and thought, oh, geez, I really screwed this thing up. Pulled it out, and it was essentially a ghost organ of skin, right? Which, for your listeners, what a ghost organ is where you take the cells out of a tissue, and all that's left is everything besides the cells. So all the spaces where cells should go, it's largely what we would call ECM, extracellular matrix. And that accident resulted in a product, in a series of products, one of which is called Alloderm. It's basically decellularized or ghost skin tissue. And then, of course, the other one are the pig bladder, ECMs and stuff. But both of the, valuable tissue engineering products that have emerged after billions and billions of dollars were wasted on very poorly considered approaches basically relate to decellularized extracellular matrix. So you're absolutely right.
I talked to my dentist who does cadaver bone grafts for dental problems. They take cadaver bone because he said the artificial bone doesn't work well. They put platelet-rich plasma in the bone, the PRP, and then the body accepts it. If it's cadaver bone and PRP, doesn't do it as well if it's a synthetic bone with the platelet-rich plasma from the person. So you have to draw off blood, spin it down, get the platelet-rich plasma, and when you infuse it into the bone, the body's going to try to accept and integrate it into the tissue. So I tell people you can be your own tissue regenerator if you just get a micropulse and put it over your target organ, whether it's your knee or your kidneys or your eyes or your brain or whatever, and take the right supplements, create the right conditions, which might include mild hyperbaric oxygen, signal and substance. That's how it works. Get a micropulse. Dr. Bob, you teach the course on tissue regeneration, and I tell people the best way to regenerate is in you. And we're already getting lots of reports back from people saying, hey, my kidneys are coming back, my knee's regenerating, I had a partial tear of my MCL, ACL, but I put my micropulse on for a month. took all their supplements, Dr. Bill, and I can't believe it. My orthopedic surgeon and my doctor doesn't know. Can't believe that I'm not needing a knee replacement, or that my liver function's coming back as it were my micropulse. Took all the supplements to try to regenerate my liver, and guess what? My liver function tests are becoming normal. I'm no longer, yellow or whatever, and, put it over their kidneys, their GFR is improving. I tell people, I said, the micropulse works. Things like our micropulse, lumen photon, and so on. And I like the fact that micropulse is so elegant. It's lower energy, but it's tuned directly to entrain the tissues. And I can tell you, it worked like a charm. I mean, I put my micropulse on, and I was in a lot of pain because I have a high pain threshold. I go to the dentist a lot of time. I have them do little or no anesthesia. I just had a lot of final dental work. I had my last mercury amalgam taken out and received a porcelain zirconium crown yesterday, and it's like, I'm done. I have no more mercury. It's gone. But when I tell people, I said, this micropulse works. So if you're trying to regenerate an organ, and you can get the machine with the code drdeagle to get $30 off, under $400. People say, it can't work if it's so inexpensive. And I say, are you kidding? This is like, buying a calculator in the 1970s compared to your iPhone 6 right now. Your iPhone 6, my iPhone 6 is more powerful than the computers that brought the men to the moon by 1,000 times.
Absolutely. Well, the research and development that I've been doing on the micropulse has been ongoing continuously for almost 20 years now, since the original design work that I did for NASA. And most of the larger PEMF systems that are for sale are based on the original work I did for NASA 20 years ago. But they haven't really innovated the core signal. So what I've been able to do is remove about 99.8% of the unnecessary energy from the signal. So it's 500 times more efficient than the larger systems that you can buy that are based on a 20-year-old technology. And real technologies, they advance, right? I mean, we expect our iPhones to get better. We expect our laptops and our tablets to get better. So we should also expect these devices that we use for health to get better. But very often they don't. Very often they just get one design that sort of works adequately, and then they just repackage it year after year, selling it as if it were something new. But it's, very often in medical devices, the technology is 30, 40, 50 years old. People don't realize that.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is, this device, you've already made a lot of advances over the SomaPulse just a year ago, which is now $1,000 cheaper. I mean, it's like, wow. And this is a better device. I'm just amazed at it.
It's more durable. It works better. It's 30% more efficient with energy. It's 35% less size and weight. So it's, I constantly am committed to making continuous technological advances. We still do warranty support for SomaPulse, AllevaWave, and all the other ones we used to sell. We all sell them now through our own webpage. But basically, it just, every year or two, I put out a new version, and it's always better in multiple ways.
Yeah. Now, where do you think this is going? I mean, the micropulse devices is so elegant and powerful. You constantly are tweaking the frequencies and doing other things. I'm already seeing tremendous results in people actually getting organ regeneration just by taking our supplements. I'm going to just list those again. We have Mountain Red Velvet, Collagen Max, Tendon Mender Joint Performance. We have Microdose, which is extra growth hormone, Supernox. We have all of the phospholipids, Nutrifos, Neurogen, Copper Regenemax, because you need copper for regenerating any solid organ. Minerals Plus, Vitamin Mineral Max, and as you take all these activating substances that are in their final metabolic stage, you have the substance and the signal, your body can do it. We're already seeing people saying, hey, I'm getting regeneration of my joints, my ligaments, my spine, my pain's going away. I can't believe it. And I have people say, I have chronic spinal pain. They're talking about doing a spinoplasty or major surgery in their spine. I said, don't do that. What we found, for example, is that most people don't have an anatomical encroachment. I ask them, what tests have you had done on your spine? And they say, well, my doctor has done this and that test. I said, did they do a CT myelogram? No. Did they do a nerve conduction EMG? No. Did they do an axon 2 sensory nerve conduction study of their 8-delta and C fibers? No. I said, well, most spinal pain, for example, in your neck or back is actually upregulated inflammatory markers, tumor necrosis factor, alpha, IFN, gamma, etc. And you start using your micropulse and taking our nutraceuticals, and guess what? It just goes away. And even if there's remodeling of the spine and the neural foramen, that remodeling over time, in many cases, relieves the pressure on the dural nerve sleeve so the pain stops. So I tell people, don't rush into big surgery. In most cases, people that do that have spinal ruptures above and below the fusion sites, and they actually have more encroachment and osteophytes at the exit foramen. So, and you probably heard about this yourself, that you use a micropulse and do the right type of DXR 9000 traction treatments, do simple non-loading exercise like VibraSlim with light weights, and then your body is not going to end up doing stupid things like CrossFit. Your body's going to start regenerating with the signal and the substance. So a lot of people are asking advice. They say, well, what should I do, doc? And I say, well, first off, you haven't had the gold standard test approved. You have a spinal compression. And even someone with a flexion extension, I said, and I did research with a radiologist back in Colorado with flexion extension MRI, and we had actually the only machine in the western United States. And what we found is that virtually no one had spinal instability, and they were going in and doing these PLF titanium cages in the front and back of their spine. And you probably heard this too, right? And I'm thinking, why are these surgeons doing it? So I was doing IMEs and finding these spine surgeons charging $250,000 and paralyzing people or totally ruining them with chronic pain syndromes, and it didn't help at all. It didn't help at all, not even the least bit.
It's outrageous, really, when you look at it. When I start digging into it, it's hard to find this information. But the information that I have found is that looking at all of these back surgeries together, the long-term outcome success rate is less than 15%. Why take that kind of a chance? And
what do they call success? If they
followed those people out even further, they'd find it's under 10%.
Well, and what do they call success? What are their criteria for the word success?
Well, they're very loose, too. That's the thing. I mean, success, I think, largely means they don't make the person worse. It certainly doesn't mean that they make them better, all right?
You know what?
You and I both know, well, we both know what can happen, surgeries, and the answer is almost nothing good.
Well, I know enough of the inside the trade, just like you know inside the science, that if I wanted to no longer do radio, I could just pick up a law degree and just go like in the shooting gallery, just ping off doctors and hospital clinics that are doing stupid things like this. But in something as simple as a micropulse and the right supplements and the right non-traumatic therapy, minor manipulation, deep tissue massage, and DXR 9000 traction would decompress them and they're fine. Get a micropulse, go to Nutrimedical and get that micropulse with the code Dr. Ron Patterson. You're talking about Lumen Photon. Besides using my micropulse device, I use my Lumen Photon on my upper neck that I kind of strained with doing some serious exercise. I think I went a little overboard. I was really pushing it, of course, which is good once in a while, but I did. What I do is I do a thing called VibraFit, I call it. This is my exercise routine, which is the exact opposite of CrossFit. It means you do lower weights, which are multiplied by the G-force, and I use resistance bands, which are kind of anchored through the ceiling through an athletic bar and below, and I have adjustable weights, up to 50 pounds in each hand, and you multiply by 3.6 the G-force. And, of course, I don't know what I did, but I did something that kind of bothered my neck, and, of course, I put my Lumen on, and it's amazing, along with the micropulse, and it's fantastic. So we get people that are trying to regenerate their liver, regenerate joints. We use a combination, I think, of the Lumen, Photon, and micropulse. And the way it is that Lumen basically is pulsatile infrared light, which is the vibrational frequency of biological molecules in solution. And that vibrational energy literally talks to the cells and tissues to say, hey, this is the concentration of material here. It increases what's called the signal to noise, so the cells and tissues say, hey, I can regenerate this. I can turn off the inflammation. I can improve the blood flow. And you hear reports, I'm sure you've heard reports of people putting it over the liver for detox, or they get hepatitis. If they take, for example, our supplements and they have a heart problem, let's say hypertension, or they've got a aortic aneurysm and they're putting it over their abdomen so their aneurysm doesn't expand, they take our Collagen Max to strengthen the aortic wall, and they take Mountain Red Velvet, etc. What we're finding is that people are finding that their organs, if they have the right substances, like, for example, your liver, Nutrifos, Neurogen, Copper Regenemax, and Minerals Plus, those are the core ones, and Collagen Max, they're going to start regenerating the organ. You put that lumen pad over, and it works. It actually starts to stimulate the tissues to heal and regenerate or detoxify. If you put it over your mouth, for example, let's say someone has periodontal disease or NECA, which is the basically infection in the bone, you take our antipathogenic Silver 100, brush your teeth with Silver 100, you rinse your mouth with Nutridyne, you take Allison Med, you take our things to regenerate the bone, Collagen Max, Bone Generator, Full Vitamin K2, Myco D2, and Mycel D3, slap that lumen pad on, and you're going to avoid your dental surgeon from doing major bone grafting and other tissue treatments, because the bone will regenerate. So the signal of lumen is really amazing, how it'll actually detoxify and heal tissues. You can put it over your eyes. In fact, they did a study on the retinas, and they actually did an animal study where they injected molecules that would cause blindness, and the lumen pads got such rescue. 100% of the animals exposed to lumen did not get blindness or even a reduction in vision. Isn't that so?
Do almost everything, and it's close, not perfect, but it gets just about everything. It boosts the function of just about everything in our bodies, and helps
Right.
bring it back, because we're pulsing. And Dr. Bill's covered this a number of times, but it's hard to bring this out, but all the time. But our bodies, for all mammals, actually have 3 types of frequencies, and I'll let him carry it with that in just a second. But each one of those, our tissue types actually pulse at these very precise frequencies: ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm tissues. And Dr. Bill has all of the lowdown on that and how it helps us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the testimonies you have.
Gosh, I think very early on, we had a couple. This is a Baptist pastor in our community, very rural part. He had retired and wanted to play golf. And he loved playing golf. He loved to walk. He didn't like having to walk. Anyway, he not that long after that, he slipped and fell on his hip. In fact, at the femur head, he had to have his hip replacement surgery. And his wife said he was just almost crying because he thought it was going to be the end of his being able to play golf. And long story short, his wife ordered one of the units, took it home, and then he came into the clinic, started using it, and asked me a lot of questions about it. And we started using it a lot. He was playing golf, walking, and everything within 2 weeks. And that's how much, but I told him you can't use it too much. And then we had another guy who had a stroke, and this was another guy who had moved here from the north. He was from California. He was in charge of security for California Power and Light. He and his wife had moved here to retire in the community. He had a stroke, and his wife had just recently died. He was devastated. His nurse called me in and said, "Can you talk to him about this?" I brought the lights in. We started using it on his couple of areas where he had his knees and his low back, and his emotional situation changed. He was crying all the time. This helped him to release the endorphins, so that he actually had a very different outlook on what was going on. Found another nurse in there that they liked, and he ended up getting married again. So it was all sorts of things. But we use it on everything on our farm, literally from canaries. We used to breed all sorts of birds, dogs, cats, everything.
And by the way, you can't scam the birds. I mean, if an animal is getting relief,
yeah.
Like you leave the pads on and you go to the restroom and you come back and say, "My gosh, my dog's sitting on my pads," or "My cat," and you got to shoo them off. It's like, no, they want to stay on there because they're feeling good.
Yeah, they do, especially in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's a little bit hot. It's outside and it's warm. But
even then, the pads aren't hot. The thing is, these are not heating pads. A lot of people mistake them. They think, that's a heating pad. No. I put it on my neck here for a while, and I tell you, I have one plugged in by my desk here all the time. I have the dual pad 264, which is 2 pads, and I kind of rig them together. So if I have an area that I've kind of pushed it too hard, so my back or my knee or something's bothering me, and slap it on there. And by the way, it works everything from dermatitis, if you've got a burn, or you've got a rash, or you've got an area you're detoxing, or let's say you've had a lot of dental surgery, and you're trying to kind of detox the bones and tissues, like I'm doing, for example, after I get all my last of my mercury out. I'm taking oral chelation, Kelar Max, but you can use the lumen pads to actually detox your tissues. If you're trying to to turn off a migraine, I tell people put a Power Methyl B12 under your tongue, bite a CoQ10 ubiquinol, take an NADH tablet under your tongue, and drink a little D-ribose and ALC 1000 and Brain Mag as a drink, along with the Sports Energy Light, and put the lumen on your head. Your migraine will be gone in minutes. People say, you're kidding. I said, no, you can turn it right off. You can literally put the lumen pads on your head. We've had a concussion, let's say you had a contact sport, and if anybody's had a bad concussion and you're seeing double and you don't feel like you're oriented and your memory's all shot, slap the lumen pad on your head, and within minutes your body's going to say, wow, I'm feeling better already. I just put it on the top of my head. Or somebody's bald. In fact, I have a lot of people say, what do I do first? I said, take our recidival hair tonic and take Collagen Max. And if you can afford it, which I tell people, everybody's going to use the lumen for almost anything else in your body, put the lumen pad on your scalp, and guess what? Your hair's going to regrow. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Part of that is, I'm not sure how much of the circulation, but how much, but it's actually the...
Well, I think it's epigenetic. Let me explain my model of this.
Okay.
And I talked about in the last half hour with Dr. Bob Dennis. What I envision in the future is I would call people get life insurance, say 20 years from now. And when you have life insurance, it means you'll have an electronic monitor monitoring your bodily functions. You get picked up by a hyperbaric ambulance. They'll transfer you, cool you off so you don't die of a heart attack or a stroke or a major illness, put you into an artificial coma for a period of a few days, and literally infuse you with intravenous extracellular matrix like mountain red velvet in a surgical form, put you in a chamber with these lumen light therapy and magnetic pulse, like the micropulse. And what the body does is it takes these signals and helps to make the tissues start to regenerate. So in the future, what I see happening is people will, just like we pack people on ice now so they don't die of a heart attack or stroke, which I've actually physically done, we'll have much more advanced treatment, but lumen will be part of it. And we have Chris Jackson, and we're talking about VibraSlim. My exercise routine is to use my VibraSlim device and actually get up on, do a resistance bands with body elastic bands and free weights. I call it VibraFit. And to me, no matter what other exercise you do, whether you're running, cycling, golfing, walking a long distance, whatever, if you add this 10 or 20 minutes a day, your whole program is going to change three aspects. Number one, you're going to lower your set points so your body will defend lower weight. You're going to lower insulin resistance, which is good. It reverses diabetes and pre-diabetic insulin resistance. You improve cardiac function because it has a cardio activity. You're going to stimulate increased bone strength and bone density, as well as connective tissues, and you're going to recruit your slow and fast twitch fibers so you get a better muscle response. And the most important thing is it's going to improve proprioception and balance. So if you're an elderly citizen, you're not going to have as likely a fall. 3 10-minute sessions in a month will cut falls by 80%. And you're going to see a lot of people that are walking on a regular surface like golfing or doing a sport like tennis are far less likely to rupture an ACL or an MCL or some other ligament, say in their foot, because as they do a foot plant and they're running back and forth in the court, they have better position sense and better proprioceptive control of their muscle firing patterns. So, Chris, is there something I missed there in terms of the benefits from vibrational exercise compared to anything? I call it vitamin G for gravity. It's completely different than any other kind of exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Vibration has really positive effects on the body, and there's over 2,000 medical reports from major medical facilities and universities from around the world now just on vibration exercise, and the results are all over the place, as in it affects everything. People who have bad joints have amazing results from it. Bad backs, in fighting osteoporosis. Women that are fighting cellulite. You want to tone your legs and get that tighter look. It gets for the cellulite while it's building the muscle, and you get that's one of the things that I know a lot of women out there use the VibraSlim for and have great success with it. Losing fat and belly fat. All the research is unbelievably shows how unbelievable vibration exercise is compared to even regular cardio exercise or regular gym exercise like weightlifting. And it's not that you don't do that, but vibration exercise has a drastic effect on weight loss and fat burning itself. 4 times the weight fat loss as compared to regular exercise, and that's doing 60 minutes of cardio 5 times a week compared to 10 or 15 minutes on the vibration machine 2 or 3 times a week. And still, cardio could not burn the fat as fast as vibration did. And,
interesting. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. But, it affects your body in so many different ways. It increases your HGH levels naturally, which helps trim the body down, speeds up your metabolism, and it pumps the lymphatic system, which detoxifies the body. As you know, the lymphatic system has no pump, and it works with gravity. So vibration actually really helps get rid of all the toxins that the lymphatic system filters out of your body on a daily basis. So, there's not a lot of things out there like vibration, because vibration just affects your body in a different way and affects all different parts of your body, from muscles to your bones to everything. So, yeah, it's very special.
Now, one of the things I find interesting that people should realize when they're looking at VibraSlim is this is the kind of machine that's going to release endorphins. It's going to make you feel good. If you've got spinal pain, let's say cervical pain, thoracic pain, lumbar pain, it's not traumatic. So it's not going to load your joints up like weightlifting or CrossFit that's likely to blow a disc or compress a nerve or whatever. And a number of people are really badly injured with CrossFit, throwing around these kettlebells or doing extreme weights and extremely violent movements. This is all much more physiological. And it's an interesting thing, it improves circulation. So it's the best pumper of your lymphatics around your body to detox your body with lymphatic detox. It's one of the best stimulants to improve circulation and release of nitric oxide. So vibrational exercise, there's several things that increase nitric oxide. Supernox, a high nitrate diet, gamma E+, lumen photon, micropulse, and of course VibraSlim. VibraSlim increases nitric oxide in your tissues tremendously, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And this is why a lot of the professional sports teams, NHL, NFL, NBA teams are using vibration because of so many different factors. They're able to push their athletes who are already in top shape, but because vibration works differently in the body, they can push them even further. VibraSlim has been used by many of the U.S. Olympic team members in running, in ski jumping, in snowboarding, and a bunch of other sports, because it's able to just push them that extra little bit there, because they reach a plateau where they just it's hard to get any more in better shape or better fitness, and so they found that vibration can push them up that extra 5% for these top athletes. But for the average person like us, it has drastic effects on us because we're not in Olympic shape already. So it's really, really good, and can get you in shape no matter what your age. We've from kids training for football and soccer to grandparents that are having problems with mobility and balance. It's really amazing what we do with them.
Yeah, it really is quite remarkable. When we start people on it, a lot of people say, well, I can't do that. It's good for a senior citizen. If you got grandpa or grandma in their 80s, you can actually get a person on the side, just standing them up will help to increase their bone density and their strength and balance. Once they start squatting, even doing a partial squats, they'll start being able to get out of a chair. They can do resistance bands, so they can improve their upper body and lower body strength. They can stand there and actually make what we call like Tai Chi type slow movements, and they'll feel their spine literally, I call microchiropractic, very, very small, tiny forces will start popping their vertebrae and their rib pits in place, and they'll feel like a crunch, and all of a sudden, hey, I got more range of motion. What happened? In other words, it's a very gentle way to kind of get your spine back in alignment and work on your posture as well. The neat thing about VibraSlim is that it does all these, I call vitamin G, by a fraction of a second, the force is equivalent to 3.6 g, which is the gravitational force multiplied by the weight that it's, or force it's resisting against. So if you're pulling on a resistance band, say a 20-pound resistance band with a body elastic band, or using a free weight like a Bowflex, say I use a 30-pound weight right now, and we're actually working up to 50 on each hand. You're about to multiply that by 3.6, so you're not going to get injured, but you're going to get the biological effect of the muscle growth and the proprioceptive control, so you're not going to get, say, a rotator cuff tear when you're lifting weights over your head. That's what the neat thing about this. You increase the response, but you decrease the chances of injury tremendously using vibrational exercise. That's what's neat about it.
Yeah. And, we've had so many people, they call us and they bought the machine for one thing, and then they're like, oh my God, my back problem, which I wasn't using it for, has gotten drastically better, or my knees have gotten better. We hear about these kind of things happening all the time. And another thing we hear is when people go on vacation for long periods of time, they notice a difference in their energy levels. Because if you go away for like 3 weeks or so or longer, you'll notice that your metabolism will slow down a little bit. Your energy levels a little, metabolism's a little bit slower, and they notice the difference, right? And they come back and they get back on it, and it doesn't only takes a couple of days and they're back to where they were. But it is literally a noticeable difference in your life that affects it in so many different ways, like just how you feel or you are, but also your physical health also. So it's very different than regular exercise, definitely.
Now, one of the things that I think people know, the price, it's dropped considerably because you guys make what I call a high-grade machine, but there's no, if you want to call, middleman. So if you wanted to get an equivalent machine, you're going to spend 2 to 3 times as much at least, say a power plate or one of these other devices that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, and it's not modular, so if it breaks down, you have problems. These devices, the motor is literally a life warranty. All the parts are modular, 3 years warranty on everything. Just ship the new module to them, no questions asked. It's amazing the service you provide too, and of course in the U.S. shipping is included in the price, $12.99, no shipping charge, and then a very slight shipping charge to ship it anywhere in the world because you have warehouses in Europe and elsewhere. This is an amazing device at an amazing price. I tell people everyone should be using a VibraSlimming, doing VibraFit exercise. Thank you, Chris. This is a remarkable thing. We're providing solutions in every way to help people stay healthy throughout their entire life, no matter whether they're a young athlete or a senior citizen. Stay right there, and we'll get you rebooked. And coming up in hour 3, Tim Alexander, our news geopolitical financial analyst, and we have lots of